This is the only film that even 20 years after its release still sits unrivaled on the throne of Korean romance cinema, remaining completely unshakable to this day, leaving behind a legendary sentiment in the world of Phil. When Sun Yi-jin cries, it feels as if every man in the world has done her wrong. It's also the first movie that made me cry a river halfway through the editing process. This is a story that breaks your heart in the most subtle of ways. Its power lies not in breathtaking spectacles, but in a gentle, steady flow of helpless yet profound affection that tenderly stings your heart. The hands of time turn back to the summer of 1968. As the daughter of a prominent member of the National Assembly, Yoo-hee leaves the bustling city to spend her summer at her grandfather's rural home. Meanwhile, a local boy of humble means, Jun-ha, is playing by the river with his friends. The moment Yoo-hee catches his eye, time seems to stand still. There stood a girl in a white dress, as pure and radiant as a gardenia in the summer heat. His friends mock him for reaching for the moon, calling her a white swan far beyond his reach. Mustering every ounce of his courage, he clumsily waves a greeting to her. To his surprise, the high-born young lady generously responds with a radiant smile of her own. It was this chance encounter, this brief, kind exchange, that ignited an uncontainable flame of youthful passion between them. Yoo-hee finds everything in the countryside fascinating. When Jun-ha pulls a dung beetle out of cow manure, she isn't repelled. Instead, she leans in to touch it with genuine interest. That pure sense of curiosity leaves Jun-ha even more captivated, eager to experience more of the countryside's wonders. Yoo-hee takes the initiative and asks Jun-ha to lead her on an adventure to a legendary haunted house. Faced with an invitation from the girl of his dreams, Jun-ha's heart raced like a drum. He agreed immediately without a moment's hesitation. The next day, they met by the river as planned. Jun-ha rowed a small boat, taking Joo-hee toward the abandoned manor on the far bank. A gentle breeze brushed the water, creating ripples on the surface and stirring the subtle romantic feelings in the hearts of the two young people. Little did they know that this seemingly innocent adventure would become the prelude to their intertwined fates, and that a sudden trial was also quietly looming. The so-called haunted house was merely a long deserted estate, with its doors left ajar and the courtyard overgrown. The silence held a chilling air of eeriness. The two plucked up their courage to go inside, but while exploring a room, the rotten floorboards gave way, and they both tumbled through. Jun-ha scrambled up and quickly helped Joo-hee to her feet. At that moment, a dark shadow flickered past behind them. Prove his bravery in front of his sweetheart, Jun steeled himself and slowly pried open the suspicious door. His comical reaction made Joo-hee burst into laughter, which instead piqued her curiosity even further. She summoned her courage and approached step by step. It turned out the ghost was just a homeless wanderer living there. After the false alarm, they looked at each other and shared a relieved laugh. Restlessness of youth and the thrill of adventure drew their hearts closer together. However, nature was not on their side. Just as they prepared to return, the sky opened up in a sudden downpour. The rushing torrent washed away the boat they needed to cross back, and the next ferry crossing was miles away. There was no way to reach it before nightfall, and worse still, Yoo-hee accidentally sprained her ankle on the slippery ground. Seeing Joo-hee's pained expression, I didn't hesitate for a second. He knelt down and motioned for her to climb onto his back. The young man's steady back became the girl's safest haven in that moment. He trudged through the uneven ground with her on his back, heading toward Dood, an abandoned melon shed, to seek shelter from the rain. He carefully wrung out his own shirt and handed it to Joo-hee to dry herself off. That simple gesture of care spoke louder than 1,000 words. Once the rain subsided, hoping to cheer Joo-hee up, he stole a massive watermelon. With no knife at hand, Jun-ha used his bare fist to crudely smash the watermelon open. This rustic way of eating, unheard of in the city, left Joo-hee wide-eyed with surprise. Then she burst into laughter. The sweet pulp mingled with the fresh scent of petrichor. It became the sweetest memory they shared. Not until night fell did they finally reach another ferry crossing. The darkness bestowed a different kind of romance upon the countryside. Fireflies by the river danced like stars, illuminating the quiet night. These were insects Joo-hee had only seen in books. She was utterly mesmerized. Seeing her wonder, Jun-ha quietly caught one for her. That tiny spark of light glowed in his palm and was held up to her. Yoo-hee's heart completely melted. This boy of few words used the simplest of gestures to give her a sense of romance she had never felt before. Beautiful moments are always fleeting. As they made their way back by boat, Yoo-hee's grandfather was already waiting anxiously. Realizing they had to part, Yoo-hee made a bold decision. She took off the necklace she always wore and gave it to June. It was a lucky charm given by her father at her birth, a deeply meaningful gift. In that moment, it became the token of love for their blossoming romance. As the servants hurried her away, Jun-ha was left behind. But he was met with a stinging and humiliating slap from Joo-hee's grandfather. The slap was like a bucket of ice water, dousing his burning heart, silently warning him to know his place. They belonged to two different worlds. He thought this summer romance would draw to a close here, but fate seems to have a penchant for the cruelest ironies. After school resumed in the fall, Jun-ha returned to campus. His best friend, Tae-soo, a boy from a wealthy family, but with a simple and honest personality, approached him with a request that Jun-ha could never have imagined. To ghostwrite a love letter to the fiancé he had never met. This was an arranged childhood betrothal set by their parents for family interests. Tae-soo didn't get much for it as he spoke. He pulled out a photo of his fiancée. The moment Jun-ha's eyes fell upon the photograph, his whole world stood still, and his breath caught in his throat. The radiant girl in the photo was none other than Joo-hee, whom he dreamed of day and night. Immense shock and conflict instantly overwhelmed Jun-ha's heart. On one side was his best friend, and on the other the girl he deeply loved. How should he choose? In the end, a selfish yet humble longing prevailed. Instead of revealing the truth, he agreed to Tae-soo's request. He decided that under Tae-soo's name, he would pour his unspeakable longing and adoration onto the paper. Thus Jun-ha became the ghostwriter in the shadows of Joo-hee's love story. With every letter brimming with his profound affection for her, he described their summer encounter, recalled the melon shack in the rain, and praised the fireflies in the night. Tae-soo read the letters and praised his exceptional prosody, little knowing that every single word was the product of Jun-ha's longing and regret built with his own heart and tears. Soon Joo-hee's reply arrived, enclosing 2 tickets to her piano recital. Tae-soo excitedly pulled Jun-ha along to the concert hall inside. As Joo-hee gracefully walked onto the stage, Jun-ha's heart was instantly captivated. Unable to restrain himself, he stood up abruptly, his eyes fixed longingly on the radiant girl on stage. The piano piece Joo-hee played was melodious and moving, yet it carried a faint hint of an indescribable melancholy. The melody seemed to echo his own inner struggle and longing, and in the audience, perhaps only Jun-ha truly understood. As the performance ended, surrounded by their parents, Joo-hee was like a princess adored by all as Tae-soo stepped forward with flowers, observing the formal duty of her fiancé. With a casual glance back, Joo-hee's gaze pierced through the noisy crowd and landed squarely on Jun-ha, who stood there also holding a bouquet. In that instant, the world went silent. She was the only thing left in his world. An inexplicable flutter stirred in his heart, but the shackles of reality kept him from approaching. He could only turn away. Leaving with the elders, Jun-ha lacked the courage to present the flowers in his hand. Just as he stood there dejected, clutching the bouquet destined to go ungiven, he saw Joo-hee from afar running back to the hall alone in that moment. He realized instantly that she must have come back for him, so he broke into a run, racing toward her. Finding the empty hall void of Joo-hee hurried outside to search, until finally they ran straight into each other under the porch. This moment, all words became superfluous. The smiles in their eyes spoke more than 1,000 words, as their long-suppressed longing and love surged forth like a tide. Jun-ha finally presented the long-awaited bouquet.
Come on, you Tae-in when he's right.
Kokyangman, Nisong, Salam, Didi, Kida, Didi-song, let me get this in for you.
Their second meeting, though brief, was enough to make Jun-ha dance with joy. From then on, they began a more frequent secret correspondence under Tae-soo's name. Caught between the girl he loved and his closest friend, Jun-ha suffered in this awkward position, but the flames of love in his heart had already grown into an unstoppable blaze, one that could no longer be extinguished. A school social dance provided them with another opportunity to meet. With Tae-soo present, they had to pretend they were total strangers. Yet those longing gazes, like the brightest stars in the night sky, never ceased to meet and collide, conveying emotions that only the two of them could understand. Though they couldn't express their love openly, this affection shared silently in plain sight only brought their hearts closer together. As the dance ended, watching Tae-soo escort Joo-hee away, Jun-ha felt an indescribable pang of bitterness in his heart. Meanwhile, Joo-hee reached her gate and politely bid Tae-soo farewell, but she hesitated to go inside. She paused, wishing with all her heart to see that familiar figure appear right behind her at that very moment. Just as she was about to ring the bell in disappointment, The porch light suddenly went out. Looking back suddenly, she saw Junha standing quietly in the dim light of a nearby lamppost. The glow of the street lamp mirrored the joy in his eyes, creating an atmosphere of warmth and romance. He flickered the street light, a secret signal shared only between them. It was a silent "I love you" in the dark of night. In this moment, time seems to stand still, leaving only two young hearts leaning on each other in the deep of the night. But no matter how fiery their love is, it is destined to be shunned by the world. Yo-hee's marriage has long been shackled by her parents' will.
We need them to get us in the door. So maybe he was busy yesterday.
I've been through a lot with my ex-girlfriend. More surprisingly, Tae-soo, who was originally indifferent to this marriage, also began through his interactions with Joo-hee to gradually fall in love with this kind and beautiful girl. He began to pursue her earnestly with flowers in hand, firmly expressing his affection. This plunged Joo-hee into a state of immense confusion and pain. On one side was an unforgettable deep-seated love, and on the other, an inescapable betrothal and an innocent, kind friend. To avoid causing further pain to everyone, she made a heart-wrenching decision. Break up with Junha. From then on, every night, when the familiar signal light flashed outside her window, Joo-hee had to endure her heartbreak, draw the thick curtains, and turn a blind eye. Refusing to give up, Junha sought her out in the pouring rain, hoping to rekindle the flickering embers of their love. But Joo-hee, enduring the agony in her heart, said the most insincere and cold-hearted words to push him away.
One is 700 calories. Buy a brand name machine.
Those heartless words were like a sharp blade, instantly piercing Junha's heart and shattering all his illusions of love. Like one possessed, he stood in the rain, flashing their signal light over and over again, hoping for a response. Yoo-hee finally walked up behind him.
I can't win. Pika can always hear. Is it real or fake? Never been caught.
Joo-hee shook off his hand through tears, imploring him to stop. As he watched her walk away in despair, a bold plan began to take shape in Junha's heart. He went straight to Tae-soo and confessed everything between himself and Joo-hee. He prepared himself for his friend's fury and fists, but to his surprise, Tae-soo's face remained calm and undisturbed.
Background dialogue of Tae-soo, mentioning his father and the situation.
In this romantic struggle, the kind-hearted Tae-soo chose to step aside. He understood deeply that love cannot be forced or compelled. His best friend's withdrawal, Junha and Joo-hee's love could finally step into the light. During winter break, the two exchanged letters, pouring out their long-suppressed affection. However, a secret this intense could not be hidden forever. Yoo-hee's father discovered his daughter's secret romance, and word quickly reached Tae-soo's family as well. Learning the truth, Tae-soo's father was absolutely enraged. He could not accept this sudden turn of events. To him, the hard-won alliance with a congressman's family was not something he would let his rebellious son simply throw away. In a fit of rage, he pulled off his belt and whipped Tae-soo mercilessly until he was bruised and battered, vowing not to stop until he reclaimed Joo-hee for his son. When school resumed, Tae-soo said nothing to Junha about the winter ordeal. He simply brought his father's belt, found Junha, and asked several cryptic questions with a trembling voice.
In a month, we'll soon be on our way to America. He also urged Junha to take good care of Yoo-hee.
Junha was confused by his friend's strange behavior, never suspecting it was a final goodbye. Tae-soo could not defy his father, yet he refused to destroy his best friend's happiness. Driven by immense pressure and utter despair, he chose the most extreme measure to set everyone free. When Junha found him again, he was met with a sight that would haunt him forever. Tae-soo had tried to hang himself in the dorm with that very belt. Fortunately, he was found in time. Tae-soo survived, but he fell into a deep coma with no telling when he might wake. And Joo-hee rushed to the hospital to visit Junha, happened to be there as well. The three of them were meant to be the best of friends, yet now they were gathered in the same room, in the most heartbreaking way. Looking at his dear friend who had been willing to die just to set them free, and seeing how his own presence had pushed Joo-hee into such a painful dilemma, Junha's heart was consumed by an overwhelming sense of guilt and sorrow. He realized then that perhaps he was the one who truly needed to walk away. And so by the time Joo-hee looked back, Junha had already slipped away, leaving only the door. There the necklace he once cherished like a treasure now hung from the handle. Joo-hee knew exactly what this meant. It was the most resolute farewell from the man she loved. She dashed out of the hospital in a panic, stumbling through the crowded streets in search of him, her heart aching as tears fell like rain. She tried desperately to hold on to that beautiful, innocent first love, but his familiar figure had already vanished into the vast sea of people. From that day on, Jun-ha seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. It wasn't until much later that Joo-hee learned from the recovered Tae-soo. Jun-ha, hoping time would heal everyone's wounds, had enlisted in the army. He was about to be deployed to a distant and perilous foreign battlefield. On the crowded and clamorous train platform, Yoo-hee searched frantically for any sign of Jun-ha. Finally, as the train began to pull away through the fogged-up window, he saw her one last time, and all the longing, heartache and sorrow finally reached their breaking point.
Where are you? Wake up.
On the train, Jun-ha's heart was wrenched as he listened to her soulful and helpless cries. He didn't dare to face her, nor did he dare to respond, and could only force himself to keep his deep feelings buried within. Yet those heart-wrenching sobs were like a sharp blade ruthlessly tearing through his emotional defenses. Unable to hold back any longer, he finally met her gaze through his tears. In the final moment, Joo-hee took off the necklace again and pressed it into his hand through the train window. This time, it was no longer just a token of love, but a lucky charm carrying all her longing. It was her silent prayer for his safe return. Carrying the necklace to the battlefield, Jun-ha made a silent vow. If he survived, he would defy the world, to never let their love down again. Yet fate was far crueler than he could have imagined. During a fierce battle, as his unit was forced to retreat, he suddenly realized the necklace had fallen off on the battlefield. To retrieve this token, more precious than life itself, he desperately turned back into the chaos. He found the necklace, but as he was carrying a comrade to safety, an artillery shell exploded right beside him. Years later, upon returning from service, Jun-ha immediately arranged to meet Joo-hee, seeing her beloved return home safely at the cafe. Joo-hee wept with joy. She had been waiting for him all this time. But as they began to open their hearts to one another, Jun-ha said calmly, "I'm already married." Those words were like a bolt from the blue, instantly shattering the joy of Joo-hee's reunion. Tears began to stream down her face. To avoid an awkward silence, Jun-ha turned his head toward a nearby table, remarking on how exquisite the piano ornament there was. However, little did he know, the ornament had long since been moved to another table by a child sitting nearby. His carefully crafted facade was thus by a mere tiny detail ruthlessly shattered. An ominous premonition surged in Joo-hee's heart, and she subconsciously reached out her hand, waving it back and forth before his eyes. Jun-ha didn't notice at all in that moment. The realization struck her. The man she loved so deeply was already blind. The truth was like a poisoned dagger plunging deep into her heart. She could no longer hold back her tears. All the grief, the heartache, and the despair overwhelmed her like a rising tide.
We have friends in this place. A rose-colored wand.
Realizing his charade was exposed, Jun-ha stood up in a panic, attempting to flee only to stumble over the tables and chairs in his blindness. The boundless sorrow left Joo-hee almost breathless. She stepped forward and gently helped him up from his state of distress. With trembling hands, Jun-ha took out the necklace he had risked his life to retrieve on the battlefield. Intending to return it to her, instead of taking it back, Joo-hee, through her tears, placed it around his neck once more. This necklace carried all of their precious memories, serving as a witness to their pure and untainted love. It had long since become a part of who she was. Later, as arranged by her family, Joo-hee married Tae-soo. At the wedding, the tears in her eyes, like glistening pearls, were forever framed in the gallery of time. Within those tears lay a deep longing for the beauty of the past, and an even deeper, endless regret for a love left unfulfilled. Years later, Joo-hee would often take her daughter to the river where they first met, staring out in silent contemplation as she was lost in her memories. Several of Jun-ha's old comrades approached her carrying a funeral urn.
It was just that the earthquake, he couldn't hold on, and he's gone now. Don't cry.
They told her the whole truth about that meeting years ago, and Jun-ha had never married. It was only because he was blind that he didn't want to become a burden to her, to let her move on completely and have a better future. He chose to use lies to set her free, Only after learning that Joe-hee and Tai-soo had wed, they finally start a family and have a son. But years of heartache and physical trauma caused him to pass away early in the endless darkness. His final wish was to have his ashes scattered here, where their first love once began. In an instant, Joo-hee's heart felt as if struck by a heavy blow. Her tears finally burst forth, leaving her sobbing uncontrollably. Her lover had protected her throughout his life in such a resolute and devoted way. Their love finally merged with the river where they first met, becoming an eternal regret that bound them forever. The story shifts back to the present. Ji-hai has finished telling her mother's entire story, her face clouded with melancholy. She recounts this poignant tale to her boyfriend Sang-min, who is also moved to tears after hearing it. Ji-hai thinks he is merely touched by the story, until Sang-min slowly unfastens a necklace from around his neck. He reveals the pendant that appeared so many times in the story. Ji-hai finally realizes that Sang-min is actually Jun-ha's son. Their meeting was no coincidence. It was a deliberate arrangement by fate, the gentlest redemption for the soul-stirring regrets of their parents. The love between Jun-ha and Jo-hee has come full circle through the passage of time, transcending countless tribulations and missed opportunities, only to find its most beautiful continuation in their children. If love has providence, then perhaps this is its most poignant and most tender manifestation. It may have kept two people who loved each other apart, yet guided by fate it allowed their children to meet and fall in love once more. Transcending the boundaries of time and space, this love finds its eternity in another form. The classic is like a lyric poem steeped in the passage of time. The story of Jun-ha and Joo-hee is an elegy of profound regret, but it is this very sense of regret that makes the children's ultimate union so precious and full of redemptive power. It teaches us that some missed connections in life are perhaps not meant to cause you misery, but to give a deeper meaning to a future encounter. So when you look back at the relationships that faded away, and the ones you loved, but could never have, perhaps you can see them differently. They are not the failed chapters of your life. They might just be gathering strength for your ultimate destiny. Serving as a foreshadowing, love as a form of energy is conserved. It never disappears. It only waits to manifest in another way, in a future time and space, to give you the warmest resonance. This is the gentlest and most magnificent proof of providence.